Howdy, Matthew Pizgatti. Welcome back. Question today is, will we see a rise in the DRIP BUSD garden? Meaning, are we going to be making money that we can actually harvest? Are we going to be getting the rewards that we think we were promised when we got in here? And I'm going to say the answer is yes, in my opinion. But that's where this comes down to, right? This is based on opinion. Now, the reason that's positive, that's based on sentiment or your personal opinion from you doing your own research, is that there's nothing wrong with the protocol that I can see. There's nothing wrong. There's not like some one bad actor draining things out, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what we got to keep in mind. You got to, if you're looking at finance, if you're looking at things that deal with finances, we're talking about these DeFi protocols, what are the driving factors that are making it go up or down? If there's not an error, if the developer's not malicious and trying to steal your funds, which I think we see a lot of indication that that's not the case over the last year, if the developer is working on new projects, new partnerships for the system that I'm invested in, that's positive. Is there a big community who are still following it and want to jump back in at the right price points? Yes, the Telegram group has over like almost 60,000 people in there. So if all of that is the case, then we just have to use our common sense, our logic, understand the mechanisms. Excuse me, I can talk. We understand the mechanisms behind the game, behind the protocol and the smart contracts, and we understand why it's dropping and what drives our rewards, right? We need to understand all of that. And we've gotten past all the other objections. If we can get past those and say, okay, this is not a scam, which it doesn't appear to be, doesn't seem to be an obvious rug pull or anything like that. These systems have been running, I mean, almost a year for Faucet, right? And then the garden maybe since December, somewhere around there. So are we going to be able to start harvesting some funds? And like I said, we have to understand the driving factors. One of the big driving factors of the price of one of my plants, or more accurately, the price of what the equivalent of 2,500 or 2,592,000 seeds. That's what this price represents right now. And based on how many plants I can make a day, down, multiplied out from the per seed amount, that's the reward I'm getting, which is about $31 a day equivalent. Now, this price can worry you when it goes down. This price can worry you when it goes down. The assets and your plant per day estimation. And your LP may worry you if it's not going up. It's been going up for me, but we had that big bump with DRIP, and I know I got some referrals, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is always going up. You may not see it going up right now, but we come back to what drives the price. One of the main driving factors is DRIP BUSD, the LP token. We know that's falling because of DRIP, because DRIP is on a decline right now, and it has been. So this is why it all comes back to sentiment. The causes are there. We know that people were selling out to get into Animal Farm, to get into Piggy Bank, And then Piggy Bank has had a snafu. They were rolling up to version 2. That probably pushes us out another month or so because, I think with those profits, people would have come back more into the Faucet. They would have come back more into the garden. Because those who are bullish on a system, like show you something like EMP, they're using all these different farms and what have you to recycle back through the system to make more money. That's what smart investors probably do in these protocols is they take that profit off the top, and then if they're bullish in the system, they either come back in at a lower price point or they just recycle their money back through the different portions of the ecosystem. So for DRIP, that means Faucet. Faucet is your base, gives you a steady 1%. And then you have things like the garden, which can give you up to a 3% as long as the LP value is going well. And if the LP price is staying steady or rising, which means DRIP, right, we're going to get more people into the contract balance. And the contract balance is also a driving factor of the plant price. So when both those things start working together, or we get a steady LP price and we start getting more contract balance because the scaredy cats are actually getting back in and trying to pump it back up and think they can actually make money, then all that's good for us, and that's when we will see those rise in our daily amount that we could actually harvest. And remember, we're compounding the whole way. That's how you get behind. The reason they say up to a 3% or 3.3% return is because it's up to, because if you don't compound 5 days in a row and you're just harvesting those 5 days, you're going to not be able to outpace the decay that's built in. But if you are compounding regularly, you get on such a roll where, let's say 60, 90 days out or something, where I'm at like so many more plants, you get on this roll where you can outpace whatever decay there is. Get this a little closer to home. You see day by day, I'm here at 282, 287, 292, and you can see how that starts snowballing depending on how many plants you have. 47 jumps to 55, jumps to 63, jumps to 71. So depending on how many plants you have, you're going to outpace the decay more easily, and you can still get up to that 3%. But again, while we're in a downturn, so if we're rapidly dropping from, say, 30 to 24, well, this percent per day actually looks closer to 3 or, say, 4%. And when you're at that range, you're barely seeing any increase. But what you have to remember is that those amounts are not permanent. So even though the time decay is built in, and that's kind of permanent, this LP is not permanent. It can change, it can fluctuate, and it can come back up. And so can the contract balance, which is good for the whole system as well. So when we understand some of those mechanisms, we understand what's driving our, not only how much LP we're getting, but the dollar value amount of our plants per day. It all comes back to sentiment. Like I was saying at the beginning of this video, is it comes back to the sentiment of yourself. Do your own research on the developer, get into the chat, see what everyone else is saying, look at the history of DRIP and the price that it has been, look at the new partnerships coming out. I know the developer isn't as communicative constantly as some of the other devs with other projects, but at the same time, I think he's the main one working on everything. He's doing a lot of work with these partnerships and getting the Piggy Bank fixed, things like that. So he's putting the work in, which may be more valuable than that communication, but the communication does drive the sentiment down a little bit as far as what everyone else probably thinks, at their opinion of the project, which is unfortunate. So we do need more communication from the developer. That would be awesome, but do your own research on this, and that's where you go from there. If you're bullish on DRIP long term, meaning you are positive you think DRIP's going to come back up, I am. That's why I bought more to dollar cost average down. But if you think that, then yes, the animal farm or the DRIP BUSD garden would make money. It will make more money, because once I'm up to this point further down here, let me make this more realistic again. Let's say that I am a couple months in and I'm making this 80 a day. Somewhere after 50 a day is when I'm going to start testing the waters and harvesting. I've seen people harvest multiple times, like in a week, and not have any negative effects on their percentage. But somewhere over 50, one weekend I'll try to take out $100. And then, one weekend I'll try to take out a couple $100. And as long as the DRIP price doesn't just crash out on us, then we should be fine. But remember what that means. Even with DRIP price, if it crashes all the way back to like 2 or 0 or something, to me, if nothing else has changed in the protocol itself, and there's no new errors or like something crazy is happening, something malicious, then to me that'll just be a better buying opportunity for the faucet. If it dropped down again to where it was early days, like $6, I don't know if people will let it get that low, because it's too good of an opportunity to pass up. We saw what happened to all the early whales that got in, loaded up early on, and then a lot of theirs was probably just compounding because they're getting that steady 1% a day. So just compounding that back into the system would be huge if it fell that low. So it seems like a win-win to me either way. Like, I'm going to keep compounding everything I have in the garden. I'm going to keep compounding the faucet. And then if and when we can get DRIP to swing back up, which I'm still bullish on, then we'll all be sitting incredibly pretty at that time. So that's my answer, my opinion in all of this, is that I can't advise anyone on what they should or shouldn't invest into. That's not my profession or my purview. but I can tell you how I think about this, and that's what I think. That's my strategy, is that I'm confident in drip long term. Feel free to crucify me and come yell at me in the comments if that doesn't happen. But that's that's the whole point here, right? Is do your own research, see how you feel about the project. Watch more videos like this, see what everyone's sentiment is overall. I'm not going to make a big dent, but if you see, in the overall price, but if you see some big guys, see what they're saying as well. If they've got huge bags, are they just waiting to come back in at a more opportune price? Did they just max out their wallet? Because if it were me, and I was like, say, one of the whales, like Stun of Breezy, and he maxed out, I'm sure he already has other wallets. But if he didn't, that's what I would be doing. I would be following this and waiting for the absolute lowest that it could go. I would be waiting for that, and then I would blast in thousands when it hit that lowest of the low and started shooting back up, because that's where you're going to see a huge, just a huge windfall from that overall in the long term. But they are long-term projects. This is not some overnight buy me a Lambo the next day. And some of you are looking for that. And if you've got big enough bags to throw around for that, and you have that higher risk mentality where you're okay with that, then I would say there are projects out there in that vein as well. But DRIP USD Garden, yeah, this is what I think. I think we're going to head back up. But we got to keep compounding until then. That's what I'm going to do. We got to keep compounding because we do fall behind and multiply that decay if we don't. So I think that's important. Thank you guys for watching. If you appreciate the content, like, subscribe. Let me know what you're up to in the garden and the faucet and all this ecosystem. Is this do you have a positive view on this as well, or is it just so extremely worrying when you see that chart on the downward trend? I know it can be. Is that hard to overcome with the positive sentiment, even if you have that? I'm interested in all of those comments or criticisms from you guys. But I hope you're having a safe day, morning, evening, night, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you have a great one. Happy spring equinox, if that's something you guys celebrate wherever you are. And I will hope to see you on the next video. You have a great one. Thanks.